Talk about, if you haven't heard my spiel before, basically, my name's Laura Garrison. I live in North Carolina. I am managing partner at Darwinian Ventures. If you guys know Chris Floyd, he and I have worked together on multiple projects in the past. He's with Founders Bay. We are a go-to-market firm, and we work with high growth companies to build a scalable sales and marketing engine. And we do that from scratch if we need to. So you don't have to have revenue to work with us. Obviously there's fees that we charge, but as far as like having a recurring revenue, you don't have to. And we've worked with, over the last 8 years, over 100 different companies that we've helped to launch. And today's session is going to be for founders. So if you are running sales yourself, or you're just now thinking about maybe hiring a seller, this workshop is going to show you how to use sales reporting as a decision-making engine and not just a chore, right? Because we tend to use things that serve us instead of something that's like, okay, I've got to just do this thing in order to do it and say that it's done, which doesn't really make a ton of sense to do that. So if you've ever looked at your pipeline and thought, is any of this real? Then you're definitely in the right workshop. So let's jump in. So the problem with a lot of sales reporting that I see, and a lot of my content is going to be based on companies that I've worked with personally, or that Darwinian has worked with. And so we see a lot of the same things. So if you are in this boat, don't worry. A lot of founders are in this boat. If you're not, then you're ahead of the game, and that's wonderful. But kind of starting with the obvious is that most sales reporting, it either doesn't exist or it's just noise, meaning it's something that's there. You can't really trust it. You're not really sure if it's measuring something that's important and meaningful. And those forecasts you've heard me say this a million times before, forecasts don't match reality. Metrics are going to show activity, but they're not going to show results. And as a founder, you're asking yourself these questions like, why is my pipeline so full, but nothing's closing? What conversations are worth my time? Can I trust, if you have a rep and they're saying that they have a commit, can I trust that commit? Right. So kind of separating what's real from what's not real. And so because you have these questions, you're possibly asking yourself, like, am I burning time chasing the wrong deals? Did I hire someone too early, or do I need to hire someone, right? Am I too late? Am I behind? Do I need to hire? So you've got all of these questions running through your mind, and all the while you're losing confidence in your own sales engine, right? So every one of those circumstances kind of makes you lose that confidence. If you're fundraising, it's going to impact your credibility, and investors can really sniff out when your pipeline is theater. So we hear people all the time, we've done some accelerators and things like that, where it's like, oh, my pipeline is $1 gajillion. And you're like, okay, but how much of it is like real pipeline? It's like, yes, these are the people that have reached out, or maybe some deals that you've talked to one time and then it's gone quiet. So what is active? And then kind of what is the theater piece? So what we're going to do today, you're going to be able to walk away with a blueprint to help you assess and improve your own sales reporting, even if you're the only person selling. We'll walk through a really lightweight forecasting model that we start with, and it's kind of stolen from all of our experiences, and then all of the things that we read, and we're constantly iterating on our own process to kind of make it better. So these are things that we've collected and stress tested with our clients, and this is going to help you prioritize what opportunities are real. And then I'm also going to show you some examples of how we use reporting to coach, how we use reporting to troubleshoot, and then de-risk the pipeline. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll kind of do like this live audit of a sample, like a rep's deal flow, and then see if you guys can spot, what the problems may be. Like, do we have dead deals? Do we have stalled deals? Kind of what that looks like. Okay, so what makes a report high leverage? So knowing what a high leverage report is, I think looking at what makes one bad is good, is the place to start. So 90%, I'd say, of early stage companies kind of live in this bad reporting stage where you track call volume and you log meetings booked, right? Those are kind of the two things. You're like, well, I'm making a lot of calls, or I'm meeting a lot of people, or I've got like a really full calendar, and you feel what? You feel busy, right? Like you feel slammed wall to wall in your day. And the busyness is the word for it, but you don't really know what is actually moving. And so good reporting is going to help you flip that around. So what you really want to know, instead of, hey, I've had a bunch of meetings and I've met a bunch of people and I'm super busy and I don't know when I'm going to fit anything else in, you actually want to know what percentage of my demos turn into a proposal, right? That's number one. Number two, how many days does a deal sit in a stage, in a specific stage? That's the second thing you want to know. Are we speeding up or are we slowing down this month? What does that look like? Does it, and speeding up isn't always necessarily a good thing, right? Slowing down isn't always a bad thing. Look back at your forecast last month and see if it matches what you actually closed. We have this activity every month, and it's a responsibility of our actual reps who sell on behalf of our client. And they set the goal for the following month, right? And then they also look back at the previous month and they say, hey, this is what we set the previous month. This is where we landed. This was our forecast. This is where we landed, right? And so we're constantly trying to tune up that, like, that 1% better, or better every day, or whatever that looks like, where every month we are dialing this in a little bit, closer. And then if the only report, I would say, it is the how many calls did you make, or how many people did you meet, how many meetings did you have. I think that it's the wrong game altogether, right? So let me show you how to flip that and change that into something that will have you forecasting better, and kind of forecasting the way that seasoned salespeople are going to forecast. And probably the question you have right now is, do I really need to forecast if it's just me doing the selling? Like, what's the big deal with that? And I think that the limited time that you have is going to be the biggest factor. And you really need to be ruthless with that time that you have, right? I'm ruthless with my own calendar. If you want to meet with me before 10 a.m. or you want to meet with me after 3 p.m., you have to actually reach out to me in order to do that. Because what I found would happen is, your work day is obviously, if you're working 10 to 3, I want to know, because I need that schedule. But there are different parts to your day, right? There's like, I even consider your work day your preparation for work, right? If you know that to be on and to do well, you have to have a great breakfast, right? You have to have like your workout in the morning. You have to get dressed and ready for work, right? If that's part of your deal, then you need to put that in your work day, right? And if you let people grab your calendar from, dusk till, or dawn till dusk, then you may never have time to get that done. So it's not that I don't work outside of those hours, but it's almost like you got to have special permission to meet with me outside of those times. Then my meetings get all compressed together. I can get deep work done in the morning. I can get deep work done at the end of the day. And then my meetings are kind of in the middle of the day. But you didn't come here to hear about calendaring. You came to talk about reporting. So I'll get back to that. But your time is a huge factor in all of this. And so being ruthless with it is important. And the forecasting is going to force you to focus, right? So if you don't have a model, try out the stage-based exit criteria, where you don't move a deal unless the right signals happen. So you've heard me talk about some of this if you've been to one of my deal, like entrance and exit requirements for the pipeline, if you've been to one of those talks. But you've got to have the right signals. So demo complete doesn't just mean like, yeah, I met with this person and I showed them the deck, right? Because we know how activities can get completed, but they're meaningless, right? Like if I were to bring you flowers and shove them in your face or drop them at your feet and turn around and walk off, right? And flip you the bird while I'm at it. Did I bring you flowers? Yes. But did I bring you flowers in the sense of what you would normally think? No, I did not. But I did complete the task. It was meaningless. So don't take flowers and flip the bird. Make sure that if you move something out of demo complete, or you move them to the stage where you're saying the demo is complete, that you've got some criteria tied to that other than I completed the demo. So maybe it's that the buyer verbally confirmed that our solution addresses their top priority, right? These are things you kind of got to figure out on your own, but there's got to be some type of signal tied to that movement other than I did a thing and I can check the box off on that thing. So you're going to build definitions that are based on, that are objective. They're not vibes. Had a good call. They were really nice. They liked me, right? Great, but also, not a reason to move something forward. Then you're going to want to think about forecast buckets. So what I mean when I say forecast buckets are best case. If all the stars align, this is best case. Then we have commit. So this should close barring some type of disaster, right? So there's best case forecast, there's commit forecast, and then there's a worst case. So, or there's your worst. So these deals exist, but let's not count on it, right? If you were going to lose money, well, you will lose money if you don't close. But if you're a betting person, you would not bet on these deals. So set up those forecasting buckets and pop your deals in those. That will also help you see where to prioritize your time. And then your forecast commentary. So every deal gets a sentence, right? Some type of description. If it is not, if you can't produce that, then it's not in your forecast, right? And if you don't have some type of paperwork in motion, then it shouldn't be in your commit stage. So these are kind of the big training items that we hit when we first, if it's founder-led sales or if we're leading sales and we're coaching new reps and things like that, this is where we start. And then let's see. So, viewing reporting as a way to drive action. This is really where it starts earning its keep, right? So it's not going to be about the documentation as much as it's about like a diagnostic tool for you to see what is potentially broken, right? So as the founder, you're going to ask yourself every single week, these are the questions. And I have like a deck that I pull up during pipeline just to kind of remind people sometimes, right? Like a little refresher, like what are we talking about? What are we moving through? What's stuck and why? Which deals are worth time this week? And then where are we losing people? Right? Is it the pitch or is it the process where we're losing people? I'm going to check I don't keep a super eye on the chat, but I'm going to check on the chat real quick and see if you guys have any questions on the topic. So somebody's asking about the purpose of the demo, to coach and incentivize the client to commit to a yes. If so, what set of questions or slides would you recommend be inserted into the demo in order to measure their readiness to commit or measure their hesitance to do so? Yeah, this is a really great question. I would say that there's discovery before there's a demo. And sometimes those two things can happen on the same call, right? If you really know your deck inside and out and you can remove the pieces that don't fit the solution that should be for them. And if you will message me, I will send you like a generic starting point that I always use with my clients, right? If you'll just send me an email, Laura@darwinian.com is my email. And I will share that with you, and maybe that'll give you a good outline. It may be a little too much to go through here. If I finish early, I can kind of go back to it. But I think that the goal of a discovery should be, or the goal of a demo should be to um, show a qualified prospect how your product meets the exact pain or problem that they're having, which means you have to uncover the pain or the problem, right? So the question that I always like to start my demos off with is, jumping on a call, brand new, never met this person before, or, they're an inbound or an intro or whatever. And I'm like, hey, Sylvia, really great to chat. Can you tell me, just kind of give me a little bit of overview? Like, have you bought something like this before? Right? That is where you begin, because if they say yes, then you automatically know the path that you're going down, right? If they say no, you've probably got a little bit of like, you got some greenfield, you've got some education to do, right? It's the same thing if somebody's never bought a home before, right? Or you've never bought a car before, right? The process is going to look completely different based on whether that person has done this thing before or not. So if they say, yeah, I've actually gone through this before. Okay, cool. Tell me, who you went with, or, and then my next question is like, okay, I know you guys are looking at us. What other solutions are you evaluating right now? Right? Or whatever other softwares are you looking at right now? What other options do you have right now? Unless you're doing something that is like really uh like compliance related or highly regulated or something like that. My client that I work with day to day works in a regulated space. Those people aren't as open to just like lay it all out there, right? But if you're selling like a sales tool, right, like to SaaS companies, like those people are going to talk to you all day about what they've used before and what they haven't. So that may kind of there may be a range to that based on the persona. Um, but yeah, I definitely think that you, a lot of things depend on or depend upon the question that you're asking. It's like, is it a product that you can one call close? Are there other stakeholders involved? What's the approval process look like, right? But I think getting as much information as you can. And I had a mentor once that told me that maybe this plays better in the South. I don't know, but he told me that you should act like an old country doctor. We've all seen the TV shows, right? Of like the doctor, in a country town, and he's just obviously an educated, very smart man, right? But he's kind of slow talking, and he asks some question, and just kind of keeps digging and peeling back that onion, and he's kind of harmless, right? So if you can approach the sales process like that, where you're just curious and harmless, I think it's a good way to go. Again, this is all dependent upon the space that you're operating in and things like that. But I think it's pretty good advice. So we'll come back to that, and I'll certainly send you that starting place, that document I have that I made. And then I would, using the reporting that you have as a coaching opportunity, versus like looking back, right? So, you've got your win-loss analysis by persona or use case. So if you've got Gong, or you've got Otter, whatever it is you're using, probably not Gong, it's crazy expensive. Um, you know, pull that and listen back and find out where the energy drops, right? You'll find that place. So for me, I am ultra cam on, like when I'm talking to prospects and things like that. If their camera's off, in the beginning, I'll kind of say stuff like, oh yeah, I can, I play dumb. Like, oh, I can see you, Allie, or I can hear you, Allie, but I can't see you yet. Like they're probably still working on assuming that they're still working on their camera or whatever. And I know good and well that maybe they don't intend to turn their camera on. And that's a little bit of a signal for me in the buying cycle that maybe they're feeling a little shielded, unless they're like, hey, I'm in the car, or I'm in like this certain situation. And then you just want to keep that person really engaged. So you want to have in your script, you want to have some things built in where you're saying like, has this been your experience before? Like measure, even the simple recording tools will measure your talk time of how much they're talking and how much, you're talking. Have a script for what you're going to say, right? You know way too much about your product and they only need an answer to their question, right? So when they ask you a question, you should have a script for yourself, but also for anybody that you want to come in and replace you and eventually sell for you, right? So you have a script that says the common questions that you get, keep it updated, make it a document. I like the the 2-column table. Here's the question, here's my answer. And the answer should be always yes, comma, and then 1 or 2 sentences, or no, comma, in your 1 or 2 sentences, or it depends. And let me tell you why, right? Because when you wait to say yes or no until after you explain it, it's kind of like your significant other coming in and going, oh my gosh, you won't believe what happened to me today. And you're like, okay, wait, hold on one second. Is it good or bad? Like, I just need to know from the beginning if it's good or if it's bad, because I need to brace myself. Otherwise, if it's something good and I'm like tensed up and worried that it's going to, this great story they want to take me on and it's like good news. And you're like, wow, I really got worked up for that. So yes, comma, no, comma, and then answer the question. And your answers should just address what they're asking. Because what will happen is you will think of something and then you'll answer that thing, and then you'll think of something else that kind of daisy chains to it. Then you'll think of something else, and then you think about like a problem that you guys had, and when you had this bug and you worked it out, and this other and it's like, no, they don't need any of that information. They only needed like 10% of what you just said, and then you lose them, right? So all of those things should be planned, and you'll know when that energy drops. You'll know when that person wonders and they're starting to, work on something else. And you can kind of call those things out and just be like, hey, I want to make sure that like this is super high value for you. So can you let me know like what I'm missing here, or if there's something else I need? And then that'll kind of snap them right back into it. But if they know that their soul can like leave their body for 15 minutes and then come back and you're still going to be talking, people do want to talk about themselves and they do want to share and things like that. So just plan those check-ins, right? How is all this looking for you? What are your thoughts so far, right? Is this something that you guys are experiencing? Tell me how you're handling this now. Like there's a million ways to keep them roped in. Hey, I like this one. I've said a lot. Tell me what you're thinking, right? Or tell me what questions you have. Those are all great ways to keep them rolling, but you can probably, use this to kind of audit yourself a little bit and go back. But more than anything, coaching forward. So, even if the only rep that you're coaching is yourself. All right. So this is our reporting stack. We kind of use a 3-layer model. So it's really simple. Top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. So top of funnel, we actually don't care about the number of calls, right? We do. We have a minimum, right? But we want to know about the connect rate, right? What is the deeper data finding that we would find out if we had a low connect rate? Shitty data, right? Sometimes it can be the persona, right? Sometimes there are people that just aren't at their desk, right? Or they're working a factory or whatever, right? But a lot of times it can tell us if we have bad data. So we need to always be thinking about that piece, right? Then we have connect to meeting booked. What does that tell you if that's low? And by the way, this should be a stellar rep is a stellar rep is going to have a 20% connect to meeting booked rate. Right? So if they're getting people on the phone, but they're not converting them, are we talking to the right person? Right? Is it a persona problem? Or is it a pitch problem? And if it's a pitch problem, where are we getting hung up? So I will go on those calls and evaluate, or have them actually go on and evaluate and be like, hey, where are you getting stopped? Are you even getting permission to pitch? Are they, is it the hook? What place in that is happening? So that's where having a script is really important, because you need to say the same thing every time and go back and change that script as you have those learnings, right? Um, Middle of funnel, we're looking at demo to proposal ratio. So we all know what that means. How many people do you demo, and how many, versus how many people you're actually delivering a proposal to. Average days per stage is an important one. And then bottom of funnel is win rate by lead source. So lead source, this is one I teach all the time. Lead source and communication channel are two different things, right? You can reach out to me over email, and my lead source would not be email. If I met you through Founders Bay, my lead source would be Founders Bay webinar, right? So lead source, communication channel. You should track both of those. How you got to the person, right? And it's not how you first met the person, right? It is, what is the thing that happened that turned this, us knowing each other into an opportunity where we both knew that something was being sold, right? What turned it into a deal? And then forecasting accuracy. So it's your your hit rate on the commit that you make. All right, so let's look at this this live exercise, or let's kind of do a live exercise and look at this report. So we've got a rep who's booked 9 meetings. It's produced, they have $52,000 in their pipeline. They've got a win rate of 28%. And then I'll kind of let you look at the rest of this information. And I kind of want you to just think about yourself, what's working here? What could be a little bit misleading? And then we can kind of talk through what actions we would take. Is there anything that pops out to you guys? And you can put it in the chat, or you can, I don't know if you guys are able to unmute right now, but you can put it in the chat if you see something that looks a little sus here. Okay. Win rate. We think it's a little low or a little high. Negotiation versus proposal. How can 3 be in negotiation? How can close be 3 if negotiation is 2? These are, oh yeah, you're right. Good question. Value this is dollar amount, deal value. Low, okay. I think this is, okay, gotcha, yeah. Negotiation have a 0 value. So this is the total number of opportunities and then the value of those opportunities, if that makes sense. So 3 in proposal stage, the total value is 12K, if that helps. And then here it's just a lower amount, like we don't know exactly what to forecast yet. So that's why. But here's that's why negotiations take 47 days, and we're talking to the right decision makers. Yes. Yeah, you guys are asking all of the right questions, and a lot of this can boil down to like, what does this table actually mean, right? Like, what is the definition of the things in this table? So I think that's number one, is understanding, and we don't, it's not important for this exercise. But just asking those questions, right? And it's, you guys are country doctoring me right now, right? You're harmless. You have genuine curiosity, right? And you're just going, well, what is this? What's up with this, right? So I would say if I was walking through like some probable like causes for why this is wonky and weird, um, first I would say that there's some bad pre-demo qualification, right? Possibly some bad pre-demo qualification. So if you've got 8 people in demo and only 3 of those move to proposal, then were there people that didn't belong in demo in the first place? In other words, did you waste your time and demo some people who were tourists and not buyers, right? So are they skipping discovery? Are we doing that discovery qualifying? So whoever said that, 100%, that is a possible reason why. There's also the possibility that these were all qualified opportunities and the demo is weak, right? Too much product, not enough pain. So I always say if your demo talks about product features, that's not great, right? You need to talk about problem solving versus the features that are listed on your website or whatever that is. So I think there are 2 reasons, and maybe I think there are 2 main reasons that potentially this could be what it is, and you just have to dig to find out what those are, right? But I think those are the 2. Um, and maybe the demo is too generic, right? So you've got to have a demo that is specific to your persona. So if I was delivering this specific training to and I don't know the demographics of you guys, so forgive me for, I mean, it's a very large group, so some of you guys may fit this, but I kind of try to feel out. But if I'm delivering this same training to a Series D company, right? It's going to look different. The principles are similar, but it's going to look very different. So understand your persona, because I would lose you guys in 5 minutes if I said this training is created for sales people who are managing sales teams of 20 people, right? And I would bet probably very few of you have a sales team of 20 people. So immediately you're out. You're like, well, none of this applies to me. So are your demos generic versus being persona based? Another thing that I would say is what is the follow-up at the end of the demo or at the end of any call, for example, right? So you've been in one of mine, you've probably seen me hold this every time, right? This is how much time I have left to talk on this call until we need to jump into that last portion. Because I don't want a bunch of crap dinging and binging on my desk. I'm not a gadget person, but I have this timer, and it's literally like, if you Google like visual timers for autism, it's exactly what it is. I used to teach kids with autism, and this is one of the best things ever. So, put this on your desk and mark it for when you need to stop the meeting to talk about next steps. If it's a 30-minute meeting, you need to stop 5 minutes before the end of the meeting to say, hey guys, I just want to call out. I know we only got 5 minutes left. Let's talk about what's next. If it's an hour-long meeting, you need to stop 10 minutes beforehand to talk about what's next, right? So are you setting next steps at the end of the demo? Or are you saying like, hey, cool, we'll circle back, right? And then your deal is most definitely, 9 times out of 10, it's going to die. What is the confirmed next step? And are you losing a deal because of an unclear CTA, right? Or people hesitating at the end? Because you want to end on like the feel good, right? Nobody wants to hear the no, and you want to keep the deal alive, except you should not want that. You should want to get to the no as fast as possible if it's a no, because you got more important things to deal with, right? Than somebody who's just going to tell you no later on because you kind of didn't want to push it or ask. This could be like a no business case type of situation. So the buyer saw the features, they did not feel any type of urgency, and maybe the value is not tied to like whatever is important to them, right? P&L outcomes or whatever that is. Your rep or you could be demoing before urgency even gets built, right? I call that spilling your popcorn in the lobby, right? Um, and then I would say the silent deal killers are going to be um, not not selling up, not selling down, not selling around. So when your deal gets stuck, you have a single threaded deal, you don't have anywhere to take it after that, right? So I would just kind of find out of these, which of those are potentially true for you. Go find out, um, what those are, and you can do a potential fix, right? So these would be recommended actions. If any of these resonate with you, then this is how to fix it. So tighten up discovery before your demo. Don't book demos until you confirm the role and the urgency, right? That's a way to fix that. Create a repeatable demo format. So it can be super, super simple. Problem, value, next step, right? Make your little document, have it in front of you on another screen, and follow it, right? I do that for every call, every demo, every pitch. I've pitched Darwinian thousands of times, and I still use my pitch prep that I do. I change it, I update it, whatever, but I want to stay on track. I don't want to get, off on a tangent about something else. Require a time-stamped next step before you log a demo as complete. So just make sure that, you're not done until you get that next step kind of locked in. Review your top performing demos, right? Watch your own best calls back, right? Like watch your highlights and your best moments and be like, man, I was on that day, and then kind of learn from that thing. Studying what you've done well is a great way to do that. And then you want to audit your demo booked. And what I mean by that is tracking your no-show rates. So demo book doesn't mean anything if nobody shows up to the call. And a lot of times things get lost in that valley of, well, they did book a demo with me, but then they didn't show up, and then they just sat there for however long. I think these are like survival skills, right? For founder-led sales. So as I wrap up here, let's talk RevOps for just a second, or let's talk essentially data hygiene. You want to ask yourself if every single active deal is tied to a future calendar date. And that date can sometimes be on you, right? Like I've had calls where I couldn't secure next steps. Like sometimes it happens. I've also had calls where they've said, yeah, we have a board meeting in 2 weeks. So I'll let you know how it goes after the board meeting. Right. And I'm like, okay, cool. What should I do when I don't hear from you after the board meeting? And they're like, oh, well, call me back. Right. Like, give me a call. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I'll call you on the 17th if I don't hear from you the day before. And then you've already set yourself up for the next step without having to create a meeting. Right. So when you call them back, hey, you said I should give you a call today to see how it went in the meeting, right? So there's just some really simple things that you can do to kind of set up those pieces for yourself for the future as far as future dates. If you have a CRM, are your fields consistent or are they like ultra chaotic? And then are you tracking, do you have a way to spot any type of deal slippage month over month? So auditing your forecast is really, really great. One of the things that I see a lot is the CRM will show that a deal is in like the proposal sent stage, but there is not a calendar invite for follow-up. And to me, I really question if that deal is real. And I'll give a rep like a week to get something moving. And if not, I'm like, this is a dead deal. Right. So it's next step discipline is what we call it. And every live op needs a future date with an action tied to it, or you kill it. So the way we kill it is the week we notice it, we drop the deal amount to 0. And then when we come upon it the next week, if nothing's happened, then we kill the deal. Which sounds sad, but it does wonders for your forecast. And then once your reports are reliable, then you can make real decisions based on those reports, because you know that they're real. So every Monday, ask yourself, like, which of these deals are actually worth my time this week? Am I over relying on one specific channel or one specific persona, right? Do I need to shift my tactics, or just follow through on the things that are working well for me? And then the reporting is going to become like second brain for you. Honestly, this is going to take the guesswork out of who you should chase, who you should cut, and the things that you need to focus on. So just kind of recapping, really, the lightweight reporting system, what you need is a stage that has real exit criteria, a forecast category, that's your best, commit, worst. You need a next step with a date. You need a rep and manager commentary. That's your sentence, right? And then your dashboard needs or Google Sheet or whatever you're using. It needs a funnel conversion for your forecast versus your actual. And then, hey, what are the coaching opportunities that I'm seeing, from this? And I think if you have these in place, you're ahead of 80% of startups with sales teams. It's a big, kind of a big lift. Last slide. This is what you should do this week. I think this is kind of the homework piece. So pull the deals you've lost. Ask yourself, could I have seen this coming based on what was in the CRM, right? Add your exit criteria for each stage, and then start with your your commentary on every deal that's in your forecast. And sales reporting isn't just about tracking, it is about truth finding. So you're building for insight, you're not building for optics.